I can't get these memories out of my mind, and some kind of madness has started to evolve. And I try so hard to write, but some kind of madness is swallowing me whole. Yeah. Room 237 just ain't right. And I have finally realized what it means. What does Delbert Grady want from me? Is this just madness tearing me apart? Yeah. When I look back at all those crazy nights I've had, like some kind of madness was taking control. Yeah. Room 237 just ain't right. And I have finally realized what it means. And now I have finally seen the end, and I'm expecting you to care. And room 237 just ain't right. And I have finally realized you need to die. You need to die. From me, trust in Dan's dream. Into the maze you flee, and in the cold, don't leave me please. Danny, I'm gonna freeze. This place is
Hello and welcome to the Blackdog podcast number 133, which just happens to be on the calculator Lee backwards.
Does it?
Yeah. Turn the calculator upside down after typing 133. See, it's all about numbers. See how we linked it all in?
Ooh, it is,
Red
yes.
rum, red rum. I think that's what we call it. Red rum, red rum.
Sugar.
Tony says
Oh, it
fuck
doesn't
off.
work, does it?
Tony says you shit.
What does Tony say?
Tony.
What's that? He's shoved down a well.
Tony says don't stop scratching your ass because it's making my nose itch.
Okay, let's start. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to Blackdog 133. Should have been 237, but anyway, I don't know what we're going to call it.
We could just call it Lee.
Okay, call it Lee.
Yeah.
There you go.
133 Lee.
Brilliant, like a mirror. Anyway, I'm Lee,
And I'm Darren.
and we are, of course, joined on the other end of the internet phone by the incomparable Mr. James Jiminy Jim Moon. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes, who else would we have on our 5 minutes of fear?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's what it's turning out to
Our
be.
indeterminate length of horror. Madam. Have a look at my indeterminate length of horror. It is there. It is flaccid before you. So anyway, how are you doing, Jim? How was your week?
It's been a very exciting week, I must say.
Really? And do tell.
Well, there's been the 100th episode of Hypnobobs, turning into an ongoing project.
It's not another one of those ongoing series of yours, is it? Along with Judge Dredd and Batman.
It's heading that way.
Wow.
Yeah, 65 episodes to do the 100th. Brilliant.
That's how we roll in podcast land.
The wild frontiers, as we said. And anything else going on? What else has been happening in Jim Land?
I don't know whether to say this or whether you wait for Darren's bit.
No,
but,
Jim, why don't you tell us what happened to you this weekend?
Oh,
Did you run
fuck.
into anybody? Did you have to go down the pub and join anybody for a drink, Jim?
Fucking hell. Go on.
Yes.
Shall I play
Mr.
City of...
Mr.
Go on. Go on.
Shut up! It's my moment now. Our moment is me and Jim.
Yes, Mr. Barnard and his lovely lady wife, Laura, were in Darlington. So
We
I met
were.
them for a drink. And there
Yes.
was lots of cheap drink.
Wasn't it £6 for a round?
£6 for a round.
Yep, £6 for a round.
Fucking 20 quid, you could have bought the pub with that money.
We fucking could have done. Yes, we could
Blimey.
have bought ourselves a brewery with that much, actually.
Right,
So,
okay.
so yes, £6 a round. Fantastic. It was a good night at Boyle, and yes, we did drink far too much.
Yes. And
And it was really like time travel drinking.
It was.
Yes.
It was
Because Laura noticed they actually had hooch behind the bar, much to everyone's astonishment.
is this, did you go, is Darlington really Brigadoon? I mean, does it only appear
it's like
every
that.
50 years?
it's like there's this strange time warping effect.
Everyone
that happens
starts...
in bars. Yeah.
Everyone starts singing and dancing, and basically then they disappear after 50 years, but they still got the beer from 50 years ago. I mean, fucking hooch.
I also we also tried a local delicacy as well. The Parmo.
The Parmo.
The Parmo. Okay.
That's what I have in my quiet moments with my iPad when no one's looking.
No, I know it. All it is basically is
Yeah.
like a piece of breaded chicken with cheese on it, and you shove anything else you like on it. So you can have like chilies or mushrooms or anything like that, and then they shove a load of chips with it, and that's it. You've got your local delicacy, and I'll tell you what, it ain't bad. It's actually quite it's nice, even when
Nice.
it's cold the next morning, because I couldn't finish a half of one.
What?
Yeah.
You took pub food home?
No, it wasn't pub food. This was out of the local kebab shop.
You took the local kebab shop food home?
Yes, I did. We took it back to the hotel, and I don't care. I don't care. You understand me? I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed.
You should be.
Even though I ran out of the hotel room just as the maids were coming in, it's like, shit, gone.
Right.
They've got to tidy this up.
Yeah. Yeah. Parmo all over the walls.
Yeah, all over everywhere. everywhere.
I'm sure they're quite used to that,
tissues of dried Parmo everywhere.
Yeah, bits of this like cheese on it. And
Yeah, cheesy Parmo.
what the fuck has been going on in here?
Nice. So while you two start sharing in jokes, do I play the theme from Casino Royale, City of Lovers?
Yes, why not? Don't worry, Jim. We'll always have Darlington.
Fucking hell.
Oh, can I just say, sir?
I'm not jealous.
No, I know you're not jealous. Because of your work on Hypnobobs with horror films and stuff like this, I actually understood the Mark Gatiss horror documentary last night. It's like Jello, stuff like that. Yeah. And names of Fulci being mentioned, and it's like the what was it, the
Barbarian Sound Studio,
Walking or the Living Dead at the Manchester Morgue.
Oh yeah,
stuff like that. It's I know about all this stuff. I've listened to Jim.
So Hypnobobs is actually a primer for a Mark Gatiss.
Yeah, but as I put on sort of like Facebook last night, I mean Gatiss is good, but he's no Jim Moon.
Well,
Mr. Dave Prober of Geek Planet Online tweeted me and said,
"Yeah,
that horror you roper, that was just Hypnobobs with a budget."
Yeah. do you know he's not far off. I mean seriously, we get Andy Palastides down with his camera. We basically have you wander around a few cemeteries and film you in sort of a slightly distressed tone, distressed footage, and I think that'd be fine. Loads of out of date, out of copyright video, and that'd be brilliant.
We could be ghostly extras,
just like John Russo.
Yeah, John Russo.
Or maybe not.
Yeah. In my book. Oh, fuck off, John Russo. You cunt. You money laundering, grabbing git. Anyway, moving on. So you and Jim were away.
Yeah, we were away.
You were away.
Yeah. Laura happened to be there as well.
Having fun. So while I was just sitting here,
I
almost
got to see the Library of Dreams.
I'm so worried
as well.
You just want to rub it in. Do you want to just cut? Give me a paper cut.
I was 20 minutes away.
Give me a paper cut and pour some lemon juice in it. Why don't you?
I tell you what, Jim was very generous. We found out that the taxi fare was going to cost us they started quoting prices of like 35 quid just to get back to the hotel. And Jim very
your firstborn child.
Exactly. And
And
Jim
some
was very
Parmo.
kindly going to put us up. But
Jim
no,
was
we'd already paid for that hotel room. We were fucking well going back
Yeah,
there.
but the thing is, sort of Jim's house. I'm sure there's mystic runes that you have to cast on doors before you're allowed in, and just wandering off to the toilet could be a hazardous affair that ends you up in a netherworld where the old yeah, where the elder gods roam. Sort of just in the hallway.
Make
Don't
the
go out
runes
there.
light up around the door handle.
That's it. Yeah.
It's more true than you know. I've still got to fix that bathroom door. People have been trapped in there.
Kind of sticks.
Oh God. I've now got a vision of your house being some kind of warped dimension. Every time you walk into a room, it's like never the same room twice.
It's like the Cube. That's what it is.
What's Philip Schofield doing there?
No, I mean that film with that girl off of Deep Space Nine in it. Natalie, is it Debua or whatever?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Aziri Dax.
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, sorry, I really should fix that door.
Yes.
Anyway,
So, Lee, what's happened in your week? Any
Well,
more naked DIY disasters?
well, no, I haven't managed to glue my arse shut or slice off any appendage this week, so I'm feeling like I'm on an up. I'm on a bonus point here. I had some bad news about the cat, but he's still sitting there looking at me right now, drooling. So that's we'll keep off that news. What else? Well, I managed to buy my own clothes.
Shocking.
Hurrah! I went to the shops.
I'm sure there's something in the Book of Revelations about that.
Well, actually, I bought a shirt which actually had stripes in it and stuff.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. So that's the first sign in the apocalypse, when I actually show up in a shirt that's actually got more than one colour. But otherwise, yesterday the reason we didn't record last night was because I went to a place called Volupte, which is
I know Volupte very well.
Yes, very nice.
Home of the Kitten Club.
Oh yes, it was rather enjoyable. It was mainly jazz, and it's had a sort of 30s vibe going on. But we went there for dinner normally, rather than just normal sitting around. But the problem was, I ordered like a steak, and I thought, yeah, let's push the boat out, have a steak. And I ordered peppercorn steak, and it was cool. Sitting there and the dinner's turning up and it's all good. I'm slicing in, and then they had this lady who was like the Spider Woman, right? And it wasn't because she hadn't trimmed. And basically, she came on and she started dancing. And she's dancing all around and all this kind of thing.
Doing burlesque.
Yeah, doing burlesque. And Carol's sitting there, and I'm like, it's all cool. And then what happened was, I'm sitting there and I'm eating my steak and I'm chomping away. And then what happened was, she took her top off, right? Not Carol, the spider lady. She took her top off, and she looked at me and she gave me this cheeky wink and then flashed her ass at me. But the problem was that I laughed, right? And I had this steak with this peppercorn in my throat. And it just went doink. And when you get a peppercorn or something stuck right at the back of your throat, it starts burning.
Yeah.
And I basically coughed throughout the entire thing. So she's like dancing around and everyone's going, woo. And all you can hear in the background is me going, it was like Bob Fleming remix. And all the way through, and you could see she was getting more and more pissed off at it. And Carol was going, "Do you need a drink? Do you need to go outside?" I'm like, "No, I'm fine." And I'll sit there, and then there'll be a bit more music going, and then all of a sudden it just tickle again. I'll go, until basically I had to get up and walk out, and basically threw up in the sink. But otherwise, it was a perfectly fine, lovely evening. I completely ruined this woman's set thanks to a peppercorn and her flashing her tits at me.
What was her name? The girl.
It was something like Dieter von Braun or something. It was something like it did sound like she should have been sort of like down in a bunker waiting for the last of the allies to walk up the road. But yeah, she was pretty fit. She came on for a second set, which was good because by that point I managed to dislodge the offending peppercorn and was able to
flash her. I bet she didn't flash her ass anymore after that.
Remarkably, she stayed a long way away from me. I can't work out why. She's sort of way up the other end, just completely away from me. Yeah, so other than that, I haven't... Oh, the cupboards and drawers that I built last week that I glued my arse shut with, they've all fallen apart.
What, your arse or the cupboard?
No, the cupboard. It's all in bits. It's all in bits.
When you get past a certain age...
Yeah, no. One of the kids sat on it, and it bowed, and it went... And
one of your kids sat on the wardrobe?
Yeah, no, on the chest of drawers.
Oh, right.
And it just wasn't... It's like some Tesco's old shit, and it just...
What's that didn't hold up. Sketch? The one with Reg, whatever his name was.
Reg Prescott.
Reg Prescott, that's the one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
So now next time I'm going to basically go and buy a set of drawers because now what I've got like 4 handles and a big tray.
4 candles.
Oh dear. So yes.
Well, you're all set up for bonfire night.
Well, at the moment I'm set up for the zombie apocalypse. I could board my fucking wall up with all the spare bits of wood hanging around. So
if it collapses when a small child sits on it, it's not really going to stand up to the pounding zombie hordes.
Well, no, that is very true. However, I'm kind of disappointed that the glue was more effective on my bum hairs than it was on the wood.
Ow.
I mean, what kind of megalomaniac sort of puts that kind of glue in there? Because obviously it's kind of... Well, I mean, it should be holding the wood together, but it clearly didn't.
It wasn't holding the wood together. It was holding your fucking arse shut. That's what it was doing.
Yes. Anyway, and on that delightful note, shall we go on to the news?
Yeah, let's go on to the news.
Yes, why not?
Here is the news. fucking big news. Here comes the news.
Star Wars is fucking goofy news now. Yes, there's only one piece of news and we're all talking about it, and I'm sure that there are people who are on Facebook who have vocally spoken about the fact that they're not very happy about it.
I'm just going to turn my microphone round a bit because I realise I'm sat at an angle, so
Oh god.
plus it blocks your face. There we go. Right. There you are.
You know the door swings both ways on that one, you know that.
There we
Conky.
go. Rumble, rumble, rumble on the microphone.
Yes.
Right, okay.
So Disney have basically gone ahead and for $4 billion turned around and bought Lucasfilm. Now, on one side, there are those who are not very happy at this and think it could spell like the nadir of the series. You know, that new Star Wars is on its way and it's going to be Disney-fied and yada yada fucking yah. And then there's me. And I think that basically what they've managed to do is the one thing that everyone's been wanting to happen for the last 30 years, which is George Lucas to stop fucking being involved in Star Wars.
Wrap him on the knuckles or the nipples, one of the two. Let him drop it. Take it. Run with it.
Yes. So, yeah, at the moment, it looks like Disney have basically bought Lucasfilm lock, stock and barrel, which means that they've got, not only have they got Lucasfilm as in Star Wars, but they've got rights to Lucasfilm properties, such as Indiana Jones, though they still would have to make that in co-production with Paramount. They've also got Industrial Light and Magic. They've got Skywalker Sound, and they've got THX Labs, and I think they've got Avid as well, which is the edit suite.
Wow.
So, you know,
We've got something else as well, actually.
Really? What's that?
Yep.
Go on.
They have now got complete and utter across-the-board merchandising rights to Howard the Duck.
Oh my god!
Rock on.
Because of course they've got Marvel.
Yes.
This is the master plan. It's the return of Howard the Duck. How could we have been so blind?
He's going to be the next. He's going to be the next sidekick in the next Star Wars movie. That's what is going to happen.
You see,
Quack, quack, binks.
Yeah, quack, quack, binks. Yes. Or Jar Jar Quack. I don't know.
See, I mean, the thing is, people are making these jokes, but it's like, how real does anyone think this is going to be? I mean, do you think this is a bad thing or a good thing? Am I the only one?
Personally, I think I wasn't disappointed with the news. I was actually quite sort of, ooh, this is an interesting development. Mm-hmm. I'm not willing to naysay this like a lot of people have done. It's like with film, you know, if you haven't seen it, you can't really criticise it. So until we actually start seeing some of the stuff they start producing, because they've now got ownership of this, nobody can really say how well it's going to do or how bad it's going to be. I'm personally hoping it's going to go the right way. There's a good chance. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, how lower can you really go? How much lower can you go than what it is at the moment?
That is very true. I mean, what about you, Jim? What do you think about it? I mean, or are you so past Star Wars that you no longer care?
Well, I thought long and hard about the news. I did think, I honestly couldn't give a flying fuck. Because what's changed, really? I mean, it's not like they haven't been pumping out over-commercialised, substandard tripe in the Star Wars name for the last 20 years as it is. What's going to change if Disney start doing that?
Well,
nothing.
That's
it's just
true.
the mouse in charge rather than the fucking Sasquatch from the $6 Million Man TV show. Big deal.
Yeah, the money's not going to flannel check shirts.
Exactly.
Going to buy
and trying to clone Tom-Toms or whatever the fuck he's doing at that ranch.
I mean, yeah, the thing is, it's like, this is the thing I can't understand. Why, if people are so against this, why? Because, as you say, Jim, it's like, how much lower could Star Wars sink? I mean, Star Wars Connect Dance, once you've seen...
Oh, God,
Once you've seen Lando Calrissian going to what's the guy's name? Is it Tiny Tempers? I'm riding solo.
Yeah,
and except he's turned it into I'm freezing Han Solo. I'm freezing solo. I'm freezing solo, and doing a dance in a carbon freezing chamber. Once you've seen that level of depravity inside its franchise, which is endorsed by its own creator, just fucking Mickey Mouse in a Jedi uniform seems like a step up. I'll be honest with you, it really does.
Have you seen that picture I think it was Gareth, one of Edison's. Gareth has actually put that one up, and I shared it. But it's like all the main Disney characters dressed up in some sort of Star Wars uniform. And you've got George Lucas standing in the middle of it, and his face is as dead as the cold grey eyes that
Of a shark.
sit in his head. No expression at all. It's as if, just somebody sucked the life just out of him. It's
But that's
and he's standing with a lightsaber in his hand.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's because what he's got is he's suddenly gone on to he's become creative consultant, which is essentially there in name only for the fans that care that he's there. That's essentially it.
And to put on the paycheck.
Exactly, and to put on the paycheck, and just like Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore on things like Watchmen and V for Vendetta and From Hell, it's just there to just give it some credibility and just thanks very much. There you go. There's the movies. They are in some part way endorsed by the people who originally created them. And but like I say, I just think what has Star Wars produced that has been any good since like 1981? I mean, Return of the Jedi wasn't great, I'll be honest with you.
It's still better.
Still better than Phantom Menace.
I can still sit there and watch that a lot more than I can watch Phantom Menace.
But that's the point, isn't it? Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, no matter how much I apologise for them, and I like them as guilty pleasures as they are, but I know that they are shit films. They are not worthy of the brand that was created back in the 80s and the 70s. So what can Disney actually do other than just pump money into getting decent writers and launching a franchise? Because that's what they want. Disney don't have a franchise, so they're buying franchises. They've bought Marvel, they've bought Pixar, they've now bought Lucasfilm, so they are buying franchises to be franchises for them. That's all they're doing, and they're leaving the people in charge of those companies to get on with it. That's what Marvel's doing. But Marvel's got no influence from Disney, and similarly, Pixar. Get on and do what you do. Just give us some kickback, and we'll give you the money to do this job. So those people getting upset that Lucasfilm is suddenly going to turf out, I don't know, fucking Jar Jar's Big Adventure or something. It's just like, right. It's not like they wouldn't do that already.
Well, let's just take a look at that, shall we? Okay, before this Disney deal was even a twinkle in anybody's eye, we had Ewok. Caravan of Courage.
Exactly.
So, and that was without Disney being fucking well involved.
And Droids, the animated series.
Yeah. And, where the
Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yes, there's that.
Oh, God, no.
Fucking B. Arthur
but
in a
where,
cantina.
Sort of like, somebody else having the reins on a Star Wars film is concerned, I mean, I'll just leave Empire Strikes Back sitting right there.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So there you go.
It's the ultimate, I'll just leave that here.
Yeah. Because it's like, it's possible, all right, fine, it could go down the drain, but, let's not I can put a cold bucket of water over this before we've actually seen what's going to come out of it.
Yeah. I mean, if it's shit, everyone's just going to go, meh, it's been shit since 1998. Yeah. And if it's good, then everyone wins. It's like taking the cynical view on anything. It's like, if it's shit, you're not surprised. And if it's good, brilliant.
Well, watching an interview this morning on YouTube, apparently George Lucas is handing over the reins to...
Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, he's handing over the reins to her anyway. So he's really kind of just relinquishing all control over this. And as you say, he's just doing it for the paycheck now.
But what was Kathleen Kennedy last involved in as any kind of actual formative executive producer?
I don't know what was...
Well, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, there you go then.
She's been executive producer with George Lucas on various projects, but she wasn't on the prequels, or she was on the prequels in name only. She wasn't involved in them.
Yeah.
And the Indiana Jones franchise, she's still the fourth one.
Brilliant.
But now she's running Lucasfilm. I think brilliant, great, fantastic.
I think there's a good possibility we're going to see some good stuff coming.
Exactly.
Out of this.
I mean, at worst, nothing changes. At best, it's a thumbs up and new control at Lucasfilm, which is everything that all the Star Wars fans wanted in the first place, except for the hardcore ones who thought the Phantom Menace was a undiscovered gem. Yeah, and they should be taken outside and put against the wall anyway. But yeah, I genuinely don't see a problem with it. I don't see how people are getting so upset about the fact that it's got Disney in it, because if they were going to get that upset about it, then you should have been that upset when Pixar got subsumed into fucking Marvel and into Disney, and then even worse when Marvel did. But everyone seems quite happy with the Avengers. Everyone seems quite happy with where Iron Man 3's going, and where Thor 2's going, and where Captain America's going. So,
indeed,
as far as I'm concerned, perhaps maybe people should shut the fuck up.
Plus, we could get the ultimate crossover.
Go on.
Chip and Dale, the Ewoks, Squirrel Girl.
Now that, and it should be called "Where's My Nuts?"
What you mean, like Chip and Dale and the Ewoks kind of have some kind of,
Is that
dalliance
porn
together.
for furries?
Quite probably.
Rule
Nice.
54.
Well, that's Disney anyway, really.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, nice. Yeah, cool. It should be called the Bush Initiative, or
Dear, oh dear.
Fluff and Nuts.
Yeah, I was up to my tail in fluff and nuts.
I'm up to my ass in it. How's my bush? Where's my wicket? Have you seen my furry Chip and Dale?
Like, see, when you said, how's my bush, I just, like, underneath it, please ring, blah, 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 and tell us so. Like, how's my driving? How's my bush?
Oh, dear. Frolics in the forest with Chip and Dale and Squirrel Girl.
The Furry Honeypot Adventure.
But, just go back for 1 second. What's the biggest problem with Indiana Jones at the moment, apart from the fact that he even exists? That number 4 is...
Harrison Ford's an old grumpy cunt who can't act anymore.
Thank you very much. Now, thank you very much for that, Jim. You jumped straight to the point I was after. Now, what do we actually... What company sits inside Disney that can make adult and children-friendly action adventures? Pixar. Do you telling me Pixar making an Indiana Jones movie would not excite anyone?
That would be pretty fucking cool.
You can have the voice of Harrison Ford. You got the best directors and action directors and animators in the business. In fact, you got Industrial Light and Magic now working with Pixar. I mean, I don't know. I just think that this Disney thing could be really, really good. Or it could be, as I said before, it could be a corporate apocalypse of mediocrity. But we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I mean, you could also have Pixar doing Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
As well, there is that. What else does Lucasfilm own character-wise? Because
Howard the Duck.
Well, oh God, a Howard the Duck cartoon series. Jesus
They could
Christ.
resurrect Willow.
Oh, don't even joke about that.
Could do.
Tucker, A Man in His Dream, American Graffiti, THX 1138, the kids musical. I'm trying to be a unique person. Oh yeah, there you go. Good night. Yeah.
Cat popped in one's ass.
Yeah,
There we
good.
are.
Yeah, Robert Duvall being played by a penguin. That'd be brilliant.
Oh, where the fuck are we going with this?
I have no fucking idea, but the rest of the news is just crap compared to this, and IO9 just
what else
disappeared
is
off the
there?
map thanks to Hurricane Sandy.
Is
What?
it? All right, what was
Well,
that?
Hurricane Sandy did get attributed to basically millions of fanboys screaming out in terror and then suddenly being silenced.
Right.
Oh,
Oh dear. So, what other news is there?
I have no fucking idea, to be honest. I mean, I just figured that out of the three of us, one of us would have some kind of epileptic fit about Disney, but and I was kind of hoping that would just kind of cover the base and we'd just take it all the way through to about 50 minutes. But apparently, no, everyone's in agreement, so that's great. Shit.
There's Skyfall news now.
Oh yes, Skyfall news.
They've announced the writer for the next 2 Bond films, and he's floated the idea that this might be a 2-film story arc.
What you mean like Question of Sport and and Casino Royale with cheese? Oh, so what? Like a proper to be continued in the middle of a film, like a split film.
Well, he hasn't said that much, but everyone said, "Oh my God, could you imagine the cliffhanger you could leave it on?"
Well, yeah, I mean that would be fantastic. I mean, I still haven't seen Skyfall. I know you have, Jim, and without giving anything away, what do you think?
A lot of people are saying it, so I feel justified in saying something that sounds quite hyperbolic, but I do think it's one of the best Bond films ever.
Really? That is quite strong.
I mean, I'm not saying it's the best, but I think give it a couple of months, it'll be in most Bond fans' top 5. That's my feeling on it. It's got all the grittiness and the Casino Royale brought back, but it's got the spirit of the older films in there, but not too much, and not in a crappy, here's a nod to the past, Die Another Day style. It's sort of properly kind of in the spirit of, and it's a nice fusion. It feels like Craig's Bond after, because in Casino Royale he wasn't really Bond. He was Big Bond Begins. Quantum of Solace, he was mainly running about, and in this one he emerges as the fully fledged James Bond. I think.
Excellent.
It's really good fun. It's got a really good story, which is why I think it's one of the best Bond films. Because, I mean, I rewatched them all this summer, and in most of them, the plot threads are finer than the weave on Sean Connery's toupee. It's just linking up various set pieces, and it's kind of, you know what I mean. And often when you stop to think about it, going, this makes no sense whatsoever. But this does have a really good plot that runs through it, and it just all works just spot on.
Nice.
I very, very came out with it feeling, oh, that was a good Bond film. Nice. You know, that feeling like a big satisfying roast dinner.
Oh yes, yeah. Just out of interest, what would you consider to be the best Bond? Putting you on the spot.
I'm tending towards Daniel Craig at the minute, I must say.
Yeah.
I have to say
because he's I think he's 3 for 3 in being good Bond portrayals. I mean, Connery has his moments, but he's also shocking in some of them. Diamonds Are Forever, he's crap. You can tell he was just taking the conservatory money. He wasn't that interested in Thunderball either.
Well, no.
Roger Moore, he has his good moments, but then he gets so very, very old. And in A View to a Kill, you don't see him step up more than one stair at a time in the chase in the Eiffel Tower. Dalton only did 2, so it's hard to judge.
Yeah.
Brosnan, yeah, he had some good ones, but he had Die Another Day as well.
Oh, goodness me.
Where Roger Moore's concerned, if you do actually look very, very closely on View to a Kill, you can see where they actually matted out the Stenner stair lift he actually had going up the Eiffel Tower.
Well, actually, if you look very hard in the credits in the last 4 or 5 lines, just when everyone's supposed to have left the theatre, there is a credit saying "Thank you to Jerry Anderson," which I think is very telling. Right. Okay. So Sky. So there's going to be. So there's 2 films. Is there any news on who they're looking at to direct, or is it way too early yet?
It's way, way too early. Though Craig signed on for another 2 films. So.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He's on. After was it Golden Compass went up the tits? I don't think he's got much in the way of franchises or anything to hang him around and pay for his pay for his dotage when those pecs go south.
I'm actually going to go and see Skyfall tomorrow night.
Yeah?
Well, are we going to see it? We were supposed to go and see it yesterday, but didn't get round to it. So we are going tomorrow.
Okay.
See Skyfall.
Lovely. Skiffle.
Yeah, Skiffle.
Right, okay.
Skiffle.
Casino Royale with cheese.
Do you know,
and Skiffle.
the only thing I'm not looking forward to is having it sit through Adele's theme tune again. Because, when I first heard that, I thought, yeah, that's a really good tune, that.
Right.
And then something about it just didn't seem right. And then I realised what it was. There's a sketch by Billy Connolly where he talks about pub singers, right? And it's the bit where she gets to the chorus, and it's where she goes, "Here's a scaffold, is have hole," and that's what it reminds me of. Pub singers.
Pub singers.
Pub singers.
Yeah, okay.
Finger in the ear.
Finger in the ear.
There
Yeah.
you go.
By the way, you can hear Darren singing, not singing the Muse theme that we're going to have on the intro. Sorry.
You're not supposed to tell him that now. That's kind of a retro
Hold on.
future spoiler.
In theory, they've already heard it. It's poor Jim that hasn't heard it.
Oh God, it's like Looper.
It's poor Jim who hasn't heard it, but was delayed because we were trying to record it. But anyway, there you go. This is all a bit weird today. I don't know. This podcast is a very weird vibe. I think by the end of it, one of us will be dead. Anyway, I don't even know if I've got a shitty superhero. Okay, I'll tell you what. We're going to say shitty superheroes is up next. Shall we do one?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, do one.
I'll see if I can find one. Okay, hold on a second.
Where have all the heroes gone? We're left with all the knobs. I just want one Superman and not this bunch of slobs. Not a single one of them could take on Mr. Freeze. They're so lightweight they could get blown away in a stiff breeze. The shitty heroes. The Spanish costumes are just a little bit too tight. They're not very cool and they're not very fast, and they're most likely die in a fight. It's shitty heroes. Just one look at these dudes and you know they ain't right. Marvel DC doesn't mean much to me because they are a total shite.
Hulk smash! Puny launch singer.
Right, okay, so Shitty Superheroes returns.
Yay.
This one definitely, I don't even know where to begin with this one, okay?
Go on.
I will say straight away that the origin of this one is from the Philippines, which is never a good...
Got a bad feeling about this.
By the way, can I just clarify? I've never seen that bit of paper before.
Oh, no, oh, shit. Stay with the fucking format. There, have you seen that piece of paper?
No, I've never seen that bit
What
of
about
paper
you,
before.
Jim?
Nope.
Good. Right, there you go. This one is from the Philippines. Now, okay. This one is called Zaza Zatanara. I'll spell it for you. ZSA, and then the surname is ZATURNANAH. Right?
We'll just call it Z.
We'll call her Zaza.
Yeah, Zaza. Yes.
Okay? Which is all cool. Except for the fact that basically the story goes like this. The origin story goes like this. Right. Our story begins with Ada, a small town beautician in the Philippines, who discovers a pink meteorite.
Pink.
Yeah. Ada then does what any normal person would do when faced with a large, potentially toxic space rock. She eats it in one gulp. Now,
Well, it was pink.
well, it was pink, obviously. Now, the thing is, right, after devouring the cosmic mineral for no apparently good reason, Ada screams the magic word, Zatanura, and transforms into Zaza, a superwoman extraordinaire. But before you scoff at the total weirdness of Zaza, just know that she's an extremely, popular superhero in the Philippines, and that's because there's one vital thing I have yet to mention about.
She's got a cock.
She has a cock. Yes.
We do an awful lot of cock-based superheroes.
Yeah, this is one. And basically, they've built an entire series of superhero musicals around Zalazar Zatanura. I found out how to pronounce it now. Who is basically an Amazonian transgender cock boy, lady boy.
Right.
There's no news on who she fights.
Everybody should have something to aspire to.
And there's a little line underneath that says, underneath a picture of her, it says, somewhere in the internet, there's a very confused soul wanking off to this picture. She looks kind of... There's no knowledge of the superhero powers. The website about her never mentions if she actually has any powers, only that she's a beautician who eats a pink rock, grows a cock, and looks like Wonder Woman.
Oh no, that's too confusing now.
So, there you go. I give you Zalzal Zatanara, yes, transgender Superman woman thing. Darren?
Right.
It's a lady boy you wouldn't guess. Let's put it that way.
You wouldn't know.
You want to describe that? to Jim, if Jim hasn't Googled it up already.
Well, there's...
I have a wall of red hair and breasts on my screen now.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. The thing is that she's
I've not started looking yet. That's the weird thing.
She's... well, there's in these pictures, there's
Son of a
absolutely
bitch.
no sign of the cock at all. So there's not even a bulge.
That's the ironic thing that they basically put her into a swimsuit and had her tuck her beans up the crack of her bum, which kind of does away completely with the whole transgender thing. Surely, if she looks like a woman.
Okay, it says down the bottom here. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a little more complex than that. Zaza doesn't have a John Thomas. Ada, her homosexual male alter ego, does.
Oh shit! I missed that bit.
What?
So,
Hold on.
So-
So the alter
so so let me guess. She starts off as a gay man and then transforms
into an Amazonian.
Wonder Woman.
Okay.
That's got to be a severe case of the crying game if ever I saw one.
That's the most confused. Okay, I got that even more confused than I thought. Then that's even worse.
Yeah.
That at least makes sense why she's in something akin to a thong.
Yes.
So she turns into a hypersexualized woman while being a gay man beautician called Ada.
Yep.
Right.
And apparently she was in a Filipino edition of FHM magazine, shown in various states of undress.
Do you know what? I don't know
even
about
more
eating rocks,
confused.
more like smoking rocks.
Huffing rocks. What the fuck? That's even worse. So
it's fine. It's fine to knock one out to that picture.
So you can knock one out to
because
that
it's
picture,
a fully female form.
knowing that she's gonna run into a phone box and then transform back into a homosexual male beautician called Ada. That's what the fuck. Well,
What
there
are
you
her
go.
special powers anyway?
There are no mentions of her special powers. I think that's it. That's just yeah. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, shitty superhero of the week, Zalzal Zatanura. Nah. Pino gay
Just reading
beautician
this down there, it's
transgender
got-
Wonder Woman.
In our Justice League of Crazy, Super Shamu is Superman, Eat Man is Green Lantern with an eating disorder, so Jar Jar Zatanura, or whatever her name is, Wonder Woman, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to leave that because Super Shamu was going to be another one. You
Well,
haven't seen
I've-
Super Shamu.
This is the thing. I don't know what Super Shamu is,
Super Shamu.
what his hopes and dreams are.
Don't worry. I'll guarantee you next week you'll know.
Okay,
Okay. Super Shamu is on his way.
Super Shamu.
Right. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's shitty superheroes for this week. If you have any shitty superheroes, send them into Geek Planet Online.
Or keep them to yourself.
Keep them
Yeah.
to yourself.
We don't want lots of Futanari heroes stroke heroines. Thank you very much.
Well, thankfully, this isn't Futanari, so
It's where the fuck are we at this point? It's just, what the fuck?
it borders on it.
Oh, God. Okay. Send them into Blackdog and Geek Planet Online, or keep them to yourself and we'll just knock one out. To you sexually confused superwoman. Okay. Stop. Right. Jim, do you have a Profanasaurus for us? Before
I do. I'm hesitating to read it now, but I picked it, so we'll go ahead.
Go for it, sir.
Double melt. Euphemism. To give a lady not one, but 2 portions of hot parmo with a hamburger. To supply a second portion of filling to a vertical bacon sandwich. The bedroom equivalent, in other words, of Tommy Wiseau and Huey Ball directing a film together.
And relax. Thank you, Jim. This
My pleasure.
this is definitely one of those sort of sine wave of kind of podcast this week.
I think it hasn't helped that we've started this so late.
No,
as well, you know.
Oh dear. Right. Shall we have the last of our indeterminate length of horror? Anyone? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let's go
do
for
it. Right, okay, so the last of our indeterminate length of horror it is The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's classic. It stars Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd, Scatman Crothers, or as we shall henceforth known as Hong Kong Phooey. Directed by Stanley Kubrick, produced by Stanley Kubrick, screenplay by Stanley Kubrick and Diane Johnson, based on The Shining by Stephen King. Cinematography by John Alcott, and it was distributed by Warner Brothers on May the 23rd, 1980. It was 144 minutes in its US cut, and international cut was 119 minutes. The original cut was 146 minutes, and there's a new uncut everything all in version that's been released in the cinemas today, which would be Halloween.
Wow.
The budget was 19 million, and the box office it brought in on its initial run, just in the States alone, was 44 million. There is a lot of stuff that's been said about this film. I could go through the wiki, but I'll just be honest with you. It goes on for fucking ages. It's probably one of the most comprehensive Wikipedias I've ever seen in my life. There was a documentary that was made made about it only a few months back, and it was released in the cinema this week as well, called Room 237, which I will be talking about as we go along, which has 5 or 6 film historians basically and their own takes and analysis on the film. The film differs quite a bit in tone from the book, from Stephen King's book, most notably in the maze, which never existed in the film at all. Never existed in the book at all. And in fact, Jack Torrance has a moment of redemption in the book, which results in him blowing himself and the Overlook Hotel up, which is slightly different. The maze is one of the many things that a lot of people, and I would say conspiracy theorists, but a lot of Kubrick scholars tend to see as like elements he put in for a reason. Including the fact that there's whole discussions about the nature of the Overlook Hotel, the fact that the map and the layout of it doesn't make sense, whether or not that was stylistic tics or whether or not that was just continuity errors.
There is a thing in there about the doors of the rooms being too close together.
Yeah, I mean,
well.
like I say, I'll end up mentioning half of this stuff as it goes. The most of the Overlook Hotel was interior sets were filmed at Pinewood and Elstree. The exterior shots were Timberline Lodge in Mount Hood in Oregon, the Yahalanui Hotel in Yosemite National Park, and the Timberline Lodge also had requested that Kubrick change the numbers of the room 217, which was in Stephen King's book, to 237, because there is no room 237 in that hotel. So they just wanted to stop people from being freaked out by never staying in room 217. The film is most notable for its use of Steadicam. It was one of the first dozen or so movies to actually use that method, whereby someone actually has a mounted motorized arm that holds the camera and allows the poor camera op to basically break his back running around carrying 400 kilos of equipment. The film, naturally, given that Kubrick was obsessive to the point of madness with pretty much every shot of everything he ever did, caused some ructions on set. The Shining had a prolonged and arduous production, which actually affected Empire Strikes Back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, didn't have to delay it.
Yes, it delayed them for the sound stages.
It delayed them for the sound stages, especially when one of them caught fire.
That really does it then.
Which really does it. And it was actually the same soundstage. The main hallway, the main atrium that Jack does all his typing in, was actually the stage where they built the Millennium Falcon for the Hoth scenes. So you had that full-size Millennium Falcon, but that's a different story. But the thing was, because that set was constantly used, and because Kubrick went famously over time, that nearly put paid to Empire Strikes Back. Apparently, due to his highly methodical nature, actress Shelley Duvall didn't get along well with Kubrick at all, frequently arguing with him on set about lines of script, her acting techniques, and numerous other things. Duvall eventually became so overwhelmed by the stress of her role, she actually became physically ill for months. At one point, she was under so much stress that her hair began to fall out. The shooting script was changed constantly and sometimes several times a day, adding even more stress. Jack Nicholson became so frustrated with the ever-changing script he would actually throw away copies of the production team would give to him to memorise, knowing that it was just going to change anyway. He learned most of his lines just a minute before he would film them, and Nicholson was living in London with his then girlfriend Angelica Houston and a younger sister, who testifies to his long shooting days. Nicholson was Kubrick's first choice for the role of Jack Torrance. Other actors considered were Robert De Niro, who claimed the film gave him nightmares for months, Robin Williams and Harrison Ford, whom actually met Stephen King's disapproval and so wasn't used. The open panorama shots, outtakes of which were used in Blade Runner, and the scenes of the Volkswagen Beetle on the road, were filmed by a helicopter in Glacier National Park in Montana. And for international versions of the film, Kubrick shot different takes of Wendy reading the typewriter pages in different languages. For each language, a subtle idiom was used. In German, it was "Du heute Oh, fucking hell, I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to tell you the translations. Never put off tomorrow what can be done today. In Italian, it was the morning has gold in its mouth. In French, it was one, here you go, is worth more than two, you can have it. The equivalent of a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And Spanish version was, no matter how early you get up, you can't make the sun rise any sooner. These alternate shots were not included with DVD releases where only English phrases all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. During production, Kubrick screened David Lynch's Eraserhead to the cast and crew to convey mood he wanted to achieve in the film. And the door that Jack Nicholson chops through in the axe near was actually a real door. Kubrick had originally shot the scene with a fake door, but Nicholson, who had worked as a volunteer fire marshal, tore it down so quickly, and Jack's line, "Here's Johnny," was actually taken from the Ed McMahon's famous introduction to The Tonight Show by Johnny Carson. And it was improvised by Nicholson on the day. Kubrick, who had lived in England for some time, was unaware of the significance of the line and nearly used a different take. Carson later used Nicholson's clip to open his 1980 anniversary show on NBC. The film has basically been nominated by pretty much every magazine, news agency and critic as one of the most scary movies of all time, with the exception of Mark Kermode, who thinks that it's overrated and overhyped and somewhat lackluster ghost story. He prefers The Exorcist, naturally.
Yeah, don't we know it?
Don't we all know it? Right, so there you go. I'll leave it for the moment. So we'll start off with you, Jim. What did you think of The Shining?
Well, it is a film I love. But unusually for a film I love, I've not managed to watch it to death, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the book, and there are big differences with the book. But it's one of those things, I think it does what a good adaptation should, is that it becomes its own thing. And I see them as two different things, really, that are just a bit similar, if you see what I mean. So the changes from the book aren't too much of a problem. But the thing with The Shining is I do have quibbles with it.
Right.
Now, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking it, because, I do love the film.
Yeah.
But there's things about it that I think that if they were changed, it would make it even better and probably more powerful.
Like what?
Well, the main difference between the film and the book is that in the book you have a good man who's flawed, and the hotel and its tricks it plays on people's minds, it worms its way in and twists him, which is why in the book he has this moment of redemption. Whereas the thing with the film is, from that opening job interview, when Jack Nicholson suddenly leans around and goes, "That's no problem, my wife's a confirmed ghost story and horror film addict." At that moment, I wouldn't imply this cunt, he's off his chump. And that is a weakness for the film, because from that opening scene onwards, it's very clear that Nicholson is off the planet. Jack is already mad. If there was no ghost there was every chance that film would end up the same.
Yeah, it just wouldn't be so many extras in the gold room. Yeah.
Now, that's a lot to do with that. Kubrick had a problem with his film because he didn't believe in the supernatural, and so he couldn't work out to film it.
Right.
Now, King has said a lot of contrary things over the years about Kubrick and about The Shining.
Yeah.
And he's basically, at first he goes quite, well, it's a bit flawed, it's not right, blah, 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 and was a bit precious about it. And then, he's mellowed with age. No, it is a very good film, actually, though. But
I helped
the thing
write
is,
it.
a lot of those early years, sort of slightly diggy remarks he made about The Shining, I think do come back from the fact that Kubrick was constantly ringing King up and asking him weird questions. And, I think I saw an interview King saying, well, what do you say when Stanley Kubrick's on the other end of the phone at 3 a.m. asking you how he should shoot his film?
Well,
what do you say?
I think normally first thing you say is, "Who the fuck is this?"
I've got my money. Fuck off.
Yeah. What the fuck do you want? You know what time it is? Yeah, that's it. So there we go. 3 choices.
Your paycheck for this.
Okay. And sorry, Jim, we just jumped in with some old bollocks. Go carry on.
Oh, no. Was that my other quibble as well? Is I mean, think Shelley Long, Shelley Duvall. Sorry. I mean, you can see she had a bad time on that picture. And I can see why she was arguing with Kubrick, because, I mean, Kubrick as a director, and I think it's in a lot of his films, he has a fatal flaw. He doesn't understand people. And the people become ciphers. And so you have Jack just becomes, I'm the crazy man, from the word go. Whereas Wendy, who in the book is quite strong and a better rounded character, in the film, she's unbearable. I mean, she just seems to be nagging and just chirping at him mindlessly, and it's like I can see why she wasn't happy, because it's kind of if I was a female actress, I don't want to do this fucking bullshit, worst kind of screaming, cliched, wet girly girl routine. Yeah, because the way Wendy comes across is, I mean, Christ, I feel like taking Axe to after a couple of days of that. Go on some sandwiches. Fuck off!
I'm still fucking writing. Jesus Christ, I'm wanking. Go away.
I mean, I think actually the character just show her mettle at the end. I mean, she really fights for Danny. She gets Danny out at her own expense. But the thing is, there's nothing else to her really. It's just chirping or whinging.
Yeah,
it isn't great. It isn't a rounded character.
No, she does look like Edward Munch's Scream has just suddenly put on a dressing gown and a bad wig and just sort of gone for a wander. But yeah, I can see those weaknesses. That definitely is one of those things where you just sit there going, well, he's fucking mental and she's, well, wet. So it's already on a bad footing before you even get into Crazy Town with the ghosts. Yeah, and it's cool. So Darren, what did you think?
Right, I've never actually seen The Shining all the way through. I've seen like in clumps. It was pretty much like The Goodfellas, the same sort of situation with that, except that I kind of pieced together the story of The Goodfellas from watching all those things ago. So I found out I did actually watch the entire film, but in chunks. And with The Shining, there's definitely bits of my education on this film missing in watching it. To start off with, where Wendy is concerned, I actually, the way he talks to her and the way he treats her made me actually want to put the axe through Jack Nicholson.
Oh, right.
Because it's I don't know, it's just like you.
Oh, he is absolutely horrible to her.
It's just that there she is. It's she's just trying to be nice. It's like she's. There's nothing to do there. What is she? It's like anyone else. She's just trying to find stuff to talk about because maybe boredom's getting to her. But she seems to handle boredom a lot better than he does. Yeah. Of course. Well, she's obviously not being sort of like possessed by these spirits that are in the hotel making her do stuff. So really, I didn't really mind her character that much. I didn't really have a problem with it.
Right.
Although
so it has to be said, she's a lot better in the longer European cut.
She is.
Because you do get a bit more of her being, well, normal.
Oh, well, that's
not
fine.
Being wet.
That's fine.
It's still. She's still kind of very not a great strong female character. But it is an improvement.
She isn't, but it's the way she interacts with her son. It's like she's the air of kind of normality there, up to a point. Let's see now. So, yeah, I found that there was a lot more to this film than I originally thought there was going to be, especially with like Danny's psychic ability.
Yeah.
That sort of, and it's like kind of like, oh, that's thrown a new thing into the ring there with that, and I like that element of it. It's it was only very kind of subtle. It wasn't like some you hear voices talking over a great distance. It's more images being projected into someone's mind than anything else, rather than having direct contact, speaking words. Come to me, Simba, that sort of thing.
Yes.
So that's what I really liked about that. The whole that power. It wasn't so in your face, but it, you got the general gist of it.
Right. Okay. Cool. If it all of a sudden sounds like we've just made a bit of a sort of gasping jump and Darren's just suddenly woken up and starts talking coherently, that's because we just had to have an major emergency to stop my wife from driving the car straight off her flower bed and into the street and killing herself. There you go. So, yeah, there you go.
It could have got very reminiscent of that scene from the Blues Brothers. You know, you got the two Nazis in the car. And
I always love you as they disappear over the cliff.
I've always loved you.
Anyway.
Very nearly had live DIY going on.
Oh, yeah. Except
live Blackdog DIY.
I did have to stop Lee from taking off his clothes before he got in the car to fix the problem.
Look,
So,
the only way to fix a problem is to be naked. It always works.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just don't sit in that seat afterwards.
No.
Anyway.
Oh, look at that
there you
sweat
go.
mark. There we go.
Bloody hell.
So, yes. So, getting back
Getting back to The Shining.
to The Shining. Yeah. Can I just say, by the way, I think the worst thing about this film was probably the opening titles, because they look like somebody's tacked them on at the last minute. They've got some sort of video editing package.
They did look like cheap YouTube, didn't they? It's like karaoke from 1995.
Yeah, Uncle George has been to Cyprus. He's got his holiday movies, and this is it. He's putting the fucking credits on there, and starring a donkey with a hat on. Now scary. I don't know if scary is the term I'd actually give it. Creepy, you know. And I'll tell you what. I mean, Jack Nicholson. I've got to say. I mean, he does play a fucking brilliant psycho. He just really goes for it. You know, you can see where they thought he'd be good as the Joker for Batman. You know, because it's in there.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, yeah, I can see why they picked him, and you know, those moments when he kind of plays sort of like,
Yeah,
you know,
'cause-
sort of like staring out at them in the snow.
Well, not only that, it's like, you know, you've got the real dodgy moment when his son sees him sitting there in the bedroom and he calls him over, and it's like he's trying to reassure his son that he's never going to hurt him while looking like he's just about to bite his fucking head off.
Yeah, but in that point in the film, it's purely a lack of sleep because he keeps having those nightmares, and he has that moment of having those nightmares.
It's a bit more than a lack of sleep. I mean, you can see. To tell you the truth, I think somebody made the point on the Facebook group about the fact that he's going mad before he even gets anywhere near the hotel.
Yeah.
Right. And
Well, Jim just did.
Yeah. Well, no, somebody else made that point as well.
Right, okay.
But I can really see that. You know, I didn't think it would, but no, looking at it, you see it when they're all in the car together and they're driving there, and he's being really quite bit of a twat, really, when people ask him simple questions. You know, he's really kind of like, "What, are you fucking stupid?" or something.
Yeah, I mean, he isn't what you call a stable influence to start with.
No, he isn't.
But yeah, I mean, I tell you the one thing that kind of gets me with it is the way it kind of drops all these little hints and tips and things about Jack's character, which probably would have explained a lot more about Wendy's reaction if they had actually appeared like towards the start of the film. You know, like when he does that whole thing of sort of like he's confessing to Lloyd, the ghostly barman, you know, old Eldon Tyrell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, you hit him just once. It was a mistake. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay.
Maybe that's in the extended cut.
Yeah, but the thing is, that whole thing of explaining that he had hit Danny before suddenly makes more sense as to why when Danny gets throttled by the scary lady in room 237,
Yeah.
why Wendy is immediately thinking it's him. Because she comes down and she starts going, "Oh, you bastard, you fucker," and all this kind of thing. And it's like, and it's a full sort of 20, 30 minutes after that he finally confesses that the reason she's acting that way is because basically...
Well,
You know,
that and the fact
he's
there's only
done it
3 of them
before.
in the entire hotel. So, you know, it's like, well, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
He
but
didn't
then,
strangle himself.
but
I think
then,
that is in the extended cut.
Yeah.
There's a scene right at the start where when Jack's at the interview, you cut to Wendy at home with Danny, and like a health visitor comes round to see how Danny is.
Yeah.
And she brings up the fact that
It's happened
he
already.
broke his arm. And Wendy explained, it's my husband. He came in, and Danny
an
had
accident.
thrown his papers on the floor. He went to grab him and twisted his arm, and he broke his arm. And it was an accident, and he gave up drinking there and then. And so this is why kind of in the extended cut you have more of a feel for Wendy, because you understand, and she knows there's a problem with Jack, but she won't face up to it until it's too late.
Yeah.
And it's that's when it kind of, when she comes and finds Danny who's been strangled, that's fucking it. And you do get that in the extended cut because you have that scene.
Yeah, because that's the problem. It's those little bits of exposition that kind of seem to appear like way down the line, and it's like, oh, probably would have been nicer to know that slightly earlier. Nicer to have an idea, because I mean, the what's it, Mr. Quiff at the start of the bloody film. It doesn't take 10 seconds to tell you that basically the place is, had a murder in it, people have died, blah blah blah. That's all laid out right at the start.
I love that he makes Jack Torrance drive 3.5 hours to this place out in the middle of nowhere, and then breaks it to him that, oh, by the way, there was once this little fucking massacre in this place. You couldn't have told me this back at the job centre.
Yeah, you could.
By a fellow who had your job.
Yeah. By the last guy who was here. Yeah. Nothing to worry about. I mean, I have to say, I watched this film. Well, I went for a drink last week, and then after the person I was going for a drink with, Herc, he had to go off to something else. So I said, well, okay, fair enough. So I strolled home, and as I went past the Curzon Cinema, I saw that Room 237 was on, the documentary. So I went in to see that. So I watched this film sort of filtered through that batshit crazy documentary. So I kind of probably should have done that, because I watched The Shining this time round, and all I had in my head was weird theories, mad ideas, things being pointed out like a sort of like a deluded commentary track.
Look, there's Danny's home knit Apollo jumper.
Yes,
this
exactly.
proves that in this film Kubrick was confessing to his part in faking the moon landings. Wibble.
You see now, Jim, you've just given it a whole air of credence now you've done it in that voice.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I now totally and utterly believe you 100%. It's changed my life completely.
That's the truth. See, the thing is, Room 237, just briefly getting on it, so then you can see where I'm coming from when I see this film. There's 6 people. They all love this film to death, and they see different things in it. So there's lots of shots of Indians in this film. There's mentions of an Indian burial ground, and which is like one of those moments when you're watching the film. Oh, come on!
You're onto a bit of a loser, from the get-go.
Yeah, but it's but the thing is, every time something weird happens in the hotel, there's always a painting in the background of an Indian or Indian paraphernalia, a Native American paraphernalia, and you start thinking, oh, well, that's quite interesting, like that, and so it's like. Part of the one theory is that The Shining is actually about the subjugation of the Native American race by the Americans, and that one day this will all come back to bite them on the arse. That they overlook was built on the Indian burial ground. That anyone who gets involved, eventually will go mad with the knowledge of what they've done. So there's like a shot of Scatman Hong Kong Phooey talking to Wendy, and as he's talking, he looks at Danny, and it's that bit when you see Danny Shining connect with O'Halloran's.
Do you want some ice cream?
Exactly. But beside him, you've got prominently a tin of some American, Native American branded Spam or something that turns up in like every shot. So at first you're thinking, okay, fine, that's a perfectly serviceable idea. That's fine. I can see that, sort of a subtext thing you see in it. Then the next person comes on and says it's about the emasculation of the male by women. The fact that Wendy's all over all over him, sort of pressuring him and talking to him and just getting in the way. And that Jack is becoming more and more sort of, affected by this. So, for example, when he sees the woman in the bath and she gets out and she walks towards him, she starts bollock naked. She looks beautiful. And then when he finally gets to do the deed, she turns into an horrible, diseased old hag.
Yeah.
A scene which, by the way, is done a lot better in the book, in my opinion. Do you agree with that, Jim?
Yeah. Definitely.
Definitely. And then there's another bit that says, that like even down to the fact that when old Mr. Quiff, the owner of the, Shaking Stevens comes round to shake
Swiss Tony.
Yeah, Swiss Tony comes around to shake Jack's hand. Yeah, when he says, "Oh, you got the job." When he comes round in the office, and the moment they touch hands, the old Swiss Tony's body is right by his out tray, and the out tray is the same shade as his trousers, so it looks like he's got this huge cock, whereas Jack's... No, seriously, this was like a 10-minute discussion, and literally Jack is in his grey suit, and he's against an orange wall which stands him out because it's colourised in a way that makes grey and orange contrast, and so therefore he's isolated and the other guy's got a big hard on and Jack's like the weaker man in that shot. And then
in the wallpaper there's a stencil of Zazaz Zatanara.
I'm huffing on the pink rock. But then it goes even further. The carpet in the overlook, if you look at it, it's the shape. It's bellends. It's loads of bellends, right? But when he goes into room 231, it's all swirly vaginas.
Swirly vaginas?
Yeah.
So you get a swirly vagina.
And so the whole thing is that you go into room 237 and there's the swirly vagina carpet pattern and you're like, oh, right, so the carpet's actually saying about emasculation as well. And, even to the point where when Danny's sitting there playing with his little trucks, and it's on the pattern of the carpet, and the ball rolls towards him, which leads him to room 237, the ball rolls towards him, it rolls up the brown shaft of the carpet. Seriously, this is all there in this documentary. It rolls up the brown shaft of the carpet. But then when you see Danny's point of view, when you see the point of view of room 237 at Danny, the carpet's reversed. So that he's just all closed off. And that's just two theories. Then you get to the thing about, then some guy turns around and says, and that's why it's all, Kubrick's apologising for filming the moon landings. You go, okay, we're on the crazy train to fucking madness now. and there's just everything. But the one thing that is really interesting in that documentary, which I think someone else has done a documentary on YouTube, which is actually going to save you a lot of time, just go and watch that instead, because Room 237 is one of the most infuriating conspiracy theories of all time. You literally want to reach into the camera and grab hold of the director and just go, why are you wasting my time on this shit? It's fucking bonkers. I mean, there's even one theory that anyway, it doesn't matter. There's a whole theory about a disappearing chair.
Oh no, let's just move on from that. Let's just go somewhere else.
No. Just next time you watch it, just so you can see it and see if there's any indicator, right?
Yeah.
But when Jack is doing that thing at Wendy, when he goes, when you hear me typing, tap, 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 tap. Yeah. He goes, you don't fucking come in here, yeah? Now, when it cuts to Wendy, it's all fine. When it cuts back to Jack and he's going crazy, the chair behind him disappears. Then when it cuts back to Wendy and he's calming down, the chair reappears.
It's bad continuity. That's all it fucking well is.
But the theory goes that, with Kubrick's absolute obsession with mortal detail. Oh yeah, the other thing is it's also a film apologising for the Third Reich.
Fucking stop this now.
The typewriter.
This is mental.
No, the typewriter that Jack
used to belong to Hitler.
Yeah, it's a German typewriter, and it's the same typewriter that was used to type out the work camp lists.
Oh,
Seriously. And as Jack goes more mad, the typewriter actually changes colour from white to military Nazi grey. Anyway, there you go. Seriously, if you want to waste an hour and 40 of your time listening to 6 people going cuckoo in a fucking sound booth while watching bits of Stanley Kubrick films, that is the documentary for you. It's just right there. That's the one. It's like fucking La La Land. Anyway, one thing it does bring up, and the one thing that's in this other documentaries on YouTube, is the layout of the overlook, which actually Kubrick deliberately and willfully fucked about with. Now, you mentioned about the rooms being too close together.
yeah.
But there's better than that. There's much better than that.
There's the window
There's the window.
behind the boss, because it shouldn't be there because of where the actual office is supposed to be situated, which is
Yeah.
right in the middle of the hotel. So if that's the case, then how is it he's got a window behind him that can see onto
Yep.
the outside? Yeah.
Then there's the bit when Jack's doing his I've just been accused of hitting Danny, and he's freaking out, and he's walking down the
yeah.
corridor sort of flicking his arms, and you see him walk into the kitchen, and then he knocks all the pots and pans off the side, doesn't he? And he's like, and he fucking knocks them. You see him walk past the freezer, right? Which he ends up locked in later on.
Yes.
But he walks past that freezer. You in a single continuous Steadicam shot. He goes round the corner and round the corner again, and literally he's walked, and you
Walked in a circle.
He's walked in a circle, and that door for the freezer wouldn't exist because it would actually be a room that would be in the middle of the corridor.
Yeah.
Similarly, when Danny does his first circuit of the Overlook, you see him go in a complete circle. He literally goes left, and then he goes long, and then he goes left, and he goes long, and then he goes left again, and he goes around in a circle. Next time you see him do it, he does like a Tetris piece. It's like a little S shape.
Right.
Because he goes forward, then he goes right, then he goes left, then he goes left, and he goes forward, and then he goes left, and then he goes right, left, right, and it's just like you suddenly think, hold on, so that piece wouldn't actually fit because you get an indicator of the fact that there's like a pane of glass you can see like stained glass go past, and that's the stained glass in the room where Jack's typing away.
Got you.
So he should be in theory going round in a circle into the garden. It wouldn't actually fit. And then there's another one with the actual location of room 237 as well. But anyway, so there's lots and lots of stuff like that. So when you get all that sort of stuff piled in, it's really cool to sort of see that. Oh yeah, the when he gets Avocar on him and he meets old Dermot O'Leary, Grady or whatever the fuck his name is, goes into the bathroom.
Is it Dermot O'Grady?
Yeah, Dermot O'Grady, yeah.
Right,
Yeah. And he goes into the bathroom. Well, that bathroom, when you see behind him, you see the reverse shot, and you're looking at O'Grady, and then you look at Jack. When you see Jack, you see the room behind him is a T-bar, T-junction. Well, if you go in that T-junction and turn, you'd be in the bar, you'd be walking straight into the bar. You'd actually be in the bar, because the toilet door goes behind the bar. And then there's a T-junction, and it goes out of the bar into the toilet. It wouldn't work. And there's lots of weird inconsistencies like that. And it's really cool to sort of see that in the documentary. Really nice. Now, put all that, right, in my head, and then I watch this film. I didn't find it scary in the slightest at all. Fuck. Get all through all that, because I sat there just staring at it going, oh, I wonder if that means anything. Oh, I wonder if that means anything.
They affected your brain.
Exactly. And then I couldn't stop laughing because old Hong Kong Phooey with his double afro babes with her boobs out decides to get on gets off his arse, travels. It's like you remember Monty Python?
Yeah.
And the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And you see old Lancelot coming from miles away, and he goes, "Diddle-diddle-diddle-dum." And then it cuts back to them, "Diddle-diddle-diddle-dum," and he's still coming.
Yeah.
And then, "Diddle-diddle-diddle," and then all of a sudden he just appears right next to the guard, stabs him, and the other bloke goes, "Oi!" And he proceeds to slaughter the entire the entire occupants of this castle. Scatman Carruthers travelling from Florida was that scene all over again. There he is going from his house to Florida to the Florida Everglades. Then there he is getting on the plane. Then there he is hiring a snowplow. Then there he is driving a snowplow. Then he's still driving a snowplow. Then he goes past the crashed truck, and he's still driving the snowplow. And he goes past the maze. He's still driving that snowplow. He gets to the Overlook Hotel. He gets out, walks 2 steps, and fucking dies. And it's pointless. It's like you've just witnessed 24 pointless hours in a man's life.
Yeah,
the last most pointless hours in this man's life. So that had me laughing. Jack, as Jim said, and as someone else on the Facebook group says, just is fucking cuckoo from point go, and so that makes it harder to kind of get into it. I mean, by the end of it, I appreciated the film. I really did. I think, but like The Exorcist, it didn't press any of my buttons.
Right.
It never made me think, God, I'm scared of this, because even the only actual supernatural event that actually is physically happening. Oh, don't kill yourself with a fucking headphones, you idiot. Sorry, Darren's just strangled himself with the headphones.
No, I did. I just nearly pulled my ears off.
Well, there you go. That's just as well. Is the bit when Jack's stuck in the freezer and they unlock it for him.
Yeah, that is actually.
That's the only actual supernatural event. Everything else is just in his head, or maybe not even real.
Hold on. No, it's not the only kind of supernatural. Well, what about Danny seeing the twins?
Yeah, but he never interacts with them. They talk to him.
What happens with the ball then?
Yeah, but again, you never see the ball. And when you see, this is the thing. This is back to that documentary. When he gets up and the ball's rolled to him, he gets up, the ball's gone. The ball's not in any more shots when you see him walk away from those trucks. And it goes back to O'Halloran's thing. You'll see pictures. They are just pictures. They're not real. And nothing basically is real except for that moment when when the spirits, or whatever you want to call them, actually unlock that cupboard for him and get him out.
But the woman does strangle Danny.
But it's never really made it. But then that's
we don't actually see that.
We don't actually see that. And as we do get to see, is the spirits basically affect Danny so much that he starts dribbling into his own lap at one point. And as Jack says, maybe they just did it to themselves. Maybe he did it to himself. You don't know. And you see the girl, but you've only got Danny's word for it. It was her. And and the way she acts towards Jack, apart from just freaking him out and going, "Woo, look at my saggy, mouldy tits," she doesn't really do anything. It's all, and how much of it is in Jack's head? How much of it is Jack? And it's only that one scene that's the only supernatural moment. But anyway, getting back to the film itself, I think it's a classic movie. But like The Exorcist, it's not a horror film that makes me go, "Oh, that scared the shit out of me. I'm going to be scared that Jack's going to come around the corner."
I don't ever get that.
And The Exorcist is the same thing, as we discussed way back in Blackdog number 5 or number 6.
Number 6 or 7.
Or 7, something like that. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, I'm just like, it's good. It's well made. It's well shot. I mean, it's beautiful. Some of the sets are amazing, but it's all a bit cold. It's all a bit cold. Jack never engages you in the first place. So when he goes bonkers, you never feel like, oh my god, here's a good man gone bad. And similarly as Wendy, as has been discussed, she's a wet blanket until she absolutely has to do something about it. And Danny gets to talk to his own finger. Stinky Pete. Stinky Pete, pin up your butthole. Stinky Jimmy. Sorry. But again, you're never left sort of being scared of Tony. I mean, or whatever his name is, Stinky Pete. But I don't know. I never felt connected with any of the characters. And like I say, I pissed myself laughing when Hong Kong Phooey did a 28-hour trip just to get slapped in the chest. Hello? Is anybody there? Damn it, stuck again. Oh, dead. Fuck, I'm dead. It would have made me laugh.
Yeah, catch this axe with your chest, will you?
Yeah, exactly.
Can't even consult the Hong Kong Book of
Kung Fu. Exactly. It would have actually made me laugh if it turned out that, that's a meme just waiting to happen. That instead of Jack Nicholson coming around the corner and going, and slapping him in the chest, it's actually that fucking cat. Just decides it's had enough. Just fucking piss off. Taking revenge Kato style. Coming out of a fridge at him. Stuck again, are you? Stuck again? Fuck you, stuck again? Oh god, we really shouldn't have started recording this late. So overall, I thought it was a solid, well-made thriller. It didn't feel like a horror film to me. It was interesting. It was nicely shot. It's probably for me one of Kubrick's more accessible films. I always find them a bit sort of cold and open to interpretation. And the other problem is, as Room 237 aptly proved, sometimes you have to sit there and wonder whether or not he's done something deliberately or it's just genuinely a continuity error. So it makes kind of studying any subtext a little difficult.
Sometimes a pencil is just a pencil.
Yes, or Sharpie butts a lot.
Yes.
Oh dear, only a few people will get that joke. Right, okay. I suppose we better move on to some feedback. I mean, before we do that, final thoughts. What do you think, Jim? Anything?
I'd go along with you. So you said pretty much. I mean, because I've never really found it very frightening. It's never connected with me on that level. And I think, yes, it deserves to be up there in lists of top horror films, but it's not one of the scary ones for me, or many people I know. It's a film that, as Darren said, it's creepy, but it doesn't have you acting on the edge of your seat.
No.
And I think, actually, although its reputation has grown over the years, the downside to someone coming at The Shining now is that when The Shining came out, this was a fresh new performance from Jack Nicholson, him doing a Tex Avery wolf. However, he turned in that same Tex Avery wolf in nearly every fucking film he did for the next 20 years. And I think it does lose some of that power because it's just the Jack Nicholson stick.
Yes, yeah, that's actually very true. It's a bit like going back to the Night of the Living Dead. It's that sort of familiarity has kind of diminished it over familiarity with the source, as it were. Yeah, because it is that whole thing. It is that whole sort of when he's sort of doing that kind of Wendy, will you just fuck off, kind of thing. And it's like it's no different than Jack. You are my number one guy. It's the
Go with a smile.
Exactly. Yeah. Where does he get those wonderful toys? Wendy, I don't want to kill you. I just want to bash your brains in. So it is that whole thing. Little pig, let me come in.
Ah, yes. Continuity. I think it's a continuity error on that part. Where the Smashies tries to have a go at the door with the axe.
Yeah.
Right. He takes out one panel and does the thing. Yeah. In the next shot, you see both panels are missing.
But there's that continuity error, or was that?
Stop right now.
Was that conspiracy?
Don't finish the sentence.
Was that a conspiracy about Forestry Commission?
Right. Fucking have this ruler.
Seriously, watch that film. Watch that 237.
Oh man,
you won't believe it by the end of it. Fucking, you'll have a silver foil paper hat on.
Well, I don't know if that could really spoil my enjoyment of the film, because I enjoyed it.
Okay. So final thoughts from you, Darren, before we move on?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. I didn't think it was a terrible movie at all. If I've got one complaint, it's the fact that they don't show you It's as if suddenly, I mean, I know there's a period of time, about a month, but it kind of seems a bit rushed on Jack Nicholson's part with the madness of him, how it kind of really quite quickly.
Yeah.
But then again, like I say, we're not seeing that whole month in between those two bits.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as 30 Days of Night, where it just like the sun goes down, and next thing Josh Hartnett's got a beard.
Yeah, they don't show the passage of time. They haven't even got a montage.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you know, I've said what I got to say. I mean, I think it's a classic. It's well made. It's definitely got its place in movie history, if not horror history. The only criticism I would lay on its feet is that it does feel like parts of it feel too rushed, and other bits feel like it's taking too long. Yeah. The only other thing I would criticise it is the fucking music. The goddamn music was driving me nuts by the end of it.
Maybe that's why it was in there to drive you nuts.
No, but partly because it was kind of implying a lot that wasn't happening. There was lots of and then what was happening was it was like Jack Nicholson making a sandwich. It was like
opening a Twix.
Yeah, dun dun dun. And it also bugged me because I think they had some classic piece of music that had been used in Alien. The I can't remember the name of the music. I'll dig it up and put it somewhere later. Yeah. But that kept bugging me. So I was sort of like thinking any second now there's going to be Tom Skerritt running around the air vents going, I want to get out of here. Whip it, whip it, whip it. Wee, 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 wee. And then
get your firm in it.
Yeah, exactly. Woo, falling down the stairs. But it just, the music kind of was a bit out of place in a lot of moments. And it was even doing it in like, it was kind of like implying stuff that didn't happen, and it was just like, you kind of like, okay, if you're just trying to make me jump with the music, just have a bit of silence. That'll work. Just have a bit of silence and then have something happen. But you know, it's even like when he's going round, when Danny's going round on the bike, and it's like, you know, he's gonna run into the twins. But the first time he's doing it, he's just going around in a circle, and the music's going da 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 da. And it's like, fucking hell, all he's done is gone around the kitchen. Fuck, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen when some shit really goes down? It's gonna be like someone's trying to stab you in the ears with a Walkman turned up to 11. But apart from that, there you go. Yeah. Right, I think we better move on with some feedback, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Please, fucking hell. Says Jim, I want to go to bed. This is getting fucking silly now. Right, okay. Well, the first bit of feedback we have is from Ollie Peters, Six Claw Paw.
Oh,
wow. There you go. Thank you, Jim.
I do believe we'll be meeting him in a few weeks' time as
on the
well.
17th as well.
Yes, he's
going at the Birmingham Overlook.
At the Birmingham Overlook, yeah. The Birmingham JD Witherspoons.
JD.
That's where the new Shining's taking place.
Oh God. Right. Anyway, he writes, "Hey dudes, bet you didn't think you'd hear from me this month, because traditionally he doesn't get involved with horror films, being the hard-rocking wuss that he is."
Yeah.
Anyway, so Shiny. Well, this is the second time I've seen this film. Well, that's what I've been told. My early 20s, when I watched this film with the missus, was very hazy, if you get my meaning. He says, brackets, lots of smileys. Watching it this time, I didn't mind it. I don't think I minded it last time, but hey-ho. I thought Jack Nicholson was really good. He can play a good mental canal, Jack. Though I did find he turned quicker than Anakin. But let's all be honest, if you had that weird pasty-faced gap-toothed troll as your missus, wouldn't you want to kill her? The dude's just trying to work, damn it. The only part of this film that really freaked me out was Tony. That finger with that voice gave me the chills, especially the red rum sing. Yikes. And Tony was supposed to be the good guy. Red rum, red rum, red rum. Shut the fuck up, kid. Go to bed. I really got fed up with the music. Oh, there you go. Every time it's supposed to be some sort of tension, all we get is screeching violins and noisy rubbish. Then, now it happens. The ending was a bit really. And the scene where they had to keep zooming in on the picture all in the 20s, okay, we get it. I will just interrupt and say that in Room 237, that's another moment where you kind of go, slap your head and go, oh, for goodness sake. Because apparently, you know when it zooms into the first picture of Jack? Then it crossfades to a closer picture of Jack, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, then when it crossfades to the third picture of Jack, Jack's sort of little Maori biscuit headpiece bit, he's sort of like his little sort of receding hairline bit, intersects with his top lip on the third and final crossfade. So apparently in 2 frames of that crossfade, he looks like Hitler. Seriously, no joking. Someone seriously got paid to say that on a film, that it looks like Hitler, and that's why it's a Nazi diatribe. But anyway,
Can we show him cats that look like Hitler website and cause his brain to explode?
yeah. The feline population is is slowly about to march on Poland. But anyway, so Ollie concludes. For most of the way through it, after the scene where Pasty-Face reads what Jack typed, I just kept thinking, no beer and no TV makes Homer something mad. I did wonder if this was where Matt and Trey got the idea for Chef from, though. Is it just me? Okay, not a bad film. Here's looking forward to next week, because insert number here, Weeks of Horror is over. Cheers, Ollie. Ollie, the legend from the legends that are Six Claw Paw. Oh, nice and self-effacing there, Ollie. Well done. So thank you very much for that, Ollie. Okay.
Yeah, cheers, Ollie.
Cheers. Right, moving on swiftly before Darren falls off his chair.
Yeah.
Through lack of sleep. Right, so Gareth Lloyd we have now, and he says, hello guys and Jim. There you go.
Hey.
Hello guys and Jim. Not just like hello guys in general.
He's just hello guys and Jim. Well,
Hello
that's fair
friends
enough.
and Jim.
Yeah, he's over there. Whatever happened to the popular front, Stan? He's over there. Anyway, hello guys and Jim. It's been nearly 20 years since I saw The Shining. Now, my teeth have fallen out. Hold on.
Saw The Shining on the seashore.
Yes, exactly. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Okay, let's try again.
That's what we're going to have to do at some point. Think about.
Yeah. So it's been nearly 20 years since I saw The Shining. Now, I always enjoyed the book, and I have seen the Dole TV miniseries, so watching the movie after so long was quite interesting. It starts off really well with that haunting score and the bleakness of the setting. All works really well. It's nice that the weird stuff starts early without becoming overdone. However, about an hour in, I did start to find my attention wandering, and by the end, well, it's a little bit dull. There are some great bits, however. Whenever those twins show up is seriously freaky. The shower scene is nicely nasty, and the conversation between Jack and Grady is really well done, with Philip Stone showing how really to play a guy who's driven to madness by the Overlook Hotel. I've never been a huge fan of Jack Nicholson, and I don't think he works here. If he had been much more straight and normal to begin with, and then slipped into madness, it would have worked so much better. But instead, it's such a manic performance that you wouldn't want to be in a crowded street with him, let alone stuck in an isolated, snowbound hotel. Shelley Duvall is good, and apparently had a hard time making this film, and it shows, as she seems to be on the edge of a breakdown for most of it. But the performance has to be Scatman Carruthers, who is great in this. A spot-on mix of fatherly concern and a hint of unsettling otherworldliness, and an interesting taste in his home decor. Yeah. The music is mostly good. It goes a long way to creating some unsettling atmosphere, but in a few scenes it seemed loud and overblown and distracts from the action. The setting is nicely oppressive, as are some of the snow scenes, but on the whole the film doesn't grip me, so I don't think I'll be rushing to see it again anytime soon. Anyway, Tony is telling me I've rambled on long enough, and he says I should stop now. So keep up the good work, and happy Halloween, everyone. And now I'm off to rob some kids of their sweets. Bye! Well, thank you very much for that, Gareth. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much covered everything we said, really, isn't it?
Apart from Hong Kong Fooey's boudoir decor.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
and the question I always have is, why didn't you just buy one picture and then had a mirror on the other wall?
Well, I think it's down to afro size, really, because the one that you first see, her afro, no joking, could house a small nation or act as a stand-in
Like a
for the
triple
Death Star.
mothership.
It does look like a front cover of Playboy with someone standing in front of the black hole, because she's just like some bald lady standing in front of a humongous bear with its head cut off or something. It's just the weirdest afro I've ever seen in my life. And then when you see the reverse shot, it's another lady standing up, but she's got a much smaller afro. Clearly, Scatman has issues with the loss of his hair. I think that's the conspiracy theory we can put into that. It's all about hair loss. It's sponsored by Grecian 2000. Tresemme. It's all about hair loss. I should have been on that Room 237. I could have done shit tons on this. See, it's all about sort of 70s racial stereotyping, afro, and too much snow
It's
around.
the future.
I mean, you know. Anyway, right. Moving on before I stick my foot well and truly in it. The next piece of feedback is from Matt Jones. So Matt writes, "Happy Halloween, Darren and Mr. Jim." There you go. I've clawed my way back out of the bunker of Shun again to share a few thoughts on The Shining. I must admit that I've not had the chance to watch it this time, as I've been busy watching the brilliant Skyfall, drinking ale and catching a couple of bands, including the awesome Mr. Richard Cheese and Lounge Against the Machine. Ooh. That shouldn't matter though, as I've seen it many times in the past 20 odd years and I know it pretty well. Well, what can I say? It's a proper classic, isn't it? Though it detracts from the book in a fair amount, Kubrick is arguably at the height of his creative powers here, creating a masterpiece of atmospheric growing terror that draws the viewer in. Jack Nicholson has rarely been better as a slowly going insane Jack Torrance, and Danny Lloyd as the gifted son gives a solid performance. Shelley Duvall gets annoying with her hysterics in a few scenes, which, having seen the behind-the-scenes documentary on Kubrick directing this film, is understandable. But she is fairly convincing, and Ong Kong Fooey himself, Scatman Carruthers, is great in the memorable supporting role. The best character, however, should be the Overlook Hotel itself, with its creepy corridors, numerous flashbacks to a scary and tragic past. The film conjures up so much classic imagery. Danny riding his scooter down the corridors, the twin girls, the blood in the lift, the red ram reveal, and the scary old woman in the bath are all unforgettable, especially when viewed, as I'm sure most of us did at a young age. I also own in a Stephen King box set the 1997 TV version of The Shining, which is quite a bit more faithful to the book, and it suffers from bad 90s CG, and on the whole it's quite boring. The amazing Kubrick's film works especially well, far better than the dodgy-looking topiary animals he bought. He brought his own vision to the film, and it remains the definitive version. A seminal horror movie that is perfect to watch this time of year. I'm a big fan of Stephen King's film adaptations, and it's definitely amongst his best, along with Stand By Me, The Shawshank Redemption, and the miniseries of It, which we should do, really, miniseries of It.
Oh, definitely.
If only so we can do loads of Tim Curry impressions. Rocket! Wilderness girls. Oh, there we go, we're off. A new documentary currently on limited release, Room 237, examines numerous different interpretations and hidden meanings that fans have found in the Kubrick's movie, a testament to its place in film history. It looks intriguing and I'm eager to see it. Well, I think I've given Room 237 something of a kick in over here, so yeah, enjoy that, Matt. I'll also be interested to see what King's sequel to the original novel is like when it comes out next year, and no doubt another film adaptation will follow.
There's a sequel
to The Shining.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it? Sequel, Return to Hotel?
No. What's the central point of The Shining? It's about Danny's psychic ability and his psychic pal Tony trying to survive in a mad situation surrounded by ghosts.
Oh, so it's kind of got the element of his dad going completely off his knockers.
But that's almost secondary, isn't it? Because it's all about Danny and Tony's warning him off for going to the Overlook, and
So telling that to Danny as he's being chased by his ex-willing dad. You know, it's-
exactly. But also, Scatman, Hong Kong Fooey, pointless plane trip.
Scatman Fooey, we call him.
Scatman Fooey from. Well, actually, that sounds like a really dodgy poo porn film.
Does it? What? Really?
Scatman Fooey.
Is that what
Serious?
scat actually means, Lee? I wouldn't know.
That should be called Rusty Trombone Fooey. I mean, it'd just be the same, wouldn't it? Really? Anyway,
You know what? To coin a question from
shit on my face, Fooey. What?
Tim Burton's Batman, where have you been, mates?
Oh dear.
You're searching on the internet.
I've been huffing pink rocks. Anyway, in the Philippines.
He's the scat man.
Anyway, oh God, I apologise for this cast. It's pure and utter unadulterated gibberish.
Every time you say scat man, or I hear scat man, I keep hearing shibidabadibidababab. Who's the scat man? He's the scat man.
Oh God,
Fanrific.
Ooh, come on, let's move on. We're almost there, guys. Come on, we're see the end in
Nearly
sight.
there. How many bits of feedback to go?
We've got 2 pieces of
Two to go.
Well, we got 1 piece of written feedback, and then we got 2 pieces of MP3.
Okay, go for it.
Anyway, right. So here we go. Right. So Matt concludes. I'll be interested to see what King's sequel and the original novel is when it comes out next year, and no doubt another film adaptation will follow. So hopefully you'll agree with my view and I'll be out of that bunker for a few weeks at least. Looking forward to your Bond episode, though I voted for the legendary Mr. Dalton. Sorry. Cheers, guys, Matt. Thank you, Matt, and
Cheers, Matt.
Apologies for the terrible reading and scat-related tangents. Fanrific. God almighty. Jim, you're wasting your evening with this. If the line suddenly goes dead, we'll understand you've just gone off somewhere else to do shit. Something. Oh God!
I wonder if they've actually ever hired Scatman John by mistake. He's turned up on the set of some dodgy porn film.
He's not Hong Kong Fooey.
Exactly. And they've he's gone to give it some dum-dum-dum-dum.
And they want him to poo on a glass table.
Yeah, we got the camera under the table. We'd like you to just put your ass right on the table and just go for it.
I'm trying to sing the Scat Man.
Be like, Scum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum.
I'm sorry, we booked you for the full hour. Here's some laxatives and some chilies. Get on with it.
That poor cameraman undid it. Quick, move, it's running over the edges.
It's just a remote camera. They just push it under a glass table with a stick.
Controlled by a monkey.
And the brown canal in the carpet symbolises.
Tell me, Jim, what does it symbolise? I'll believe every word you say.
It's about The Shining's about too much bran in your diet.
Yeah.
I've got to stop. Right, okay. Moving on. We've got to go on. Last piece of written feedback is from Martin Thompson, and he writes, "Hello, Lee, Darren, and Jim." Sorry, I was going to say and Scatman, but that's me wrong. Considering the Disneyland LucasArts deal, this may have run to a 4-hour cast mark by now, so I'll try and be brief. I think the shit from Lucas is the least of our worries. Oh, stop it. Right, anyway. I haven't seen Shining before, and it's hard to watch. I haven't seen The Shining before, and it's hard to watch because it's been so parodied by so many times. The blood in the lifts, the creepy twin girls, Red Ram, and the kid on the big wheel, who must surely have influenced Stewie from Family Guy. They all work and no play, and here's Johnny. I really enjoyed the film for the most part, though. The Overlook Hotel looks gorgeous, and the film takes its time to build up the tension. As good as Nicholson is, though, it may have benefited from a more everyman actor in the lead, because it's no surprise when he goes nuts. In fact, it's hard to see him as a family man in the earlier scenes. The film has some great moments, such as the bathroom conversation between Jack and Grady, and the kid saying Red Rum is just plain creepy. That end shot with a frozen Jack looks ridiculous, and why did we see that photo at the end? Since watching, I've read a lot of theories online about it, one being that he was absorbed into the hotel. If it's on the TV, I may watch it again, but I doubt that I would seek it out. Happy Halloween, or Martin. I mean, apparently, the crossfade over and over again for Jack's photo was because of the Third Reich. But there you go. But I would say that that's the whole thing, isn't it? The Overlook Hotel was opened in 1937 on an Indian burial ground. So everyone's soul is trapped in the hotel. And so that's why when Jack meets Grady says that he's always been a barman there since 1937. And Jack is always the janitor. And, always the guy who looks after the hotel. So it's just that his soul is in the hotel, I guess. I mean, that's one interpretation. Anyway, right. So thank you for that, Martin.
Yeah, cheers, Martin.
Thank you for everyone who's listening at the moment, because clearly we have gone off to La La Land. We are in room 237 right now.
I'm actually going through lyrics for Scatman John's songs now, trying to find deep, meaningful sort of links between that and The Shining.
See if you can find links between to the sort of like subjugation of the Native American population. If you can. Right, so we're moving on to the MP3 feedback now. Desperately says, try to seek between disasters. And the first piece of feedback we have is Dave from the Inside Out cast. It does actually say, here's our MP3 feedback for the last episode of your Indeterminate Weeks of Horror, so I assume that Brandy's in there too.
Dr. Brandy's sexy voice.
Yes. So, without any further ado, let's hear what they have to say.
Hello, Blackdog.
Hello.
So, The Shining.
The Shining.
I think most people appreciate it as one of the scarier films ever made.
And it was certainly scarier than the book.
Well, a lot of people who like the book hate the movie because of the departures that Kubrick took.
Well, I've seen the more quote-unquote faithful version, and it sucked.
Weird little
The topiary that comes to life.
Yeah.
The fact that the little guy who lives in his mouth is really him from the future. Fuck off.
Apparently he's writing a sequel.
I
So
don't care.
If it tells the story of the boy as an adult talking to him in the past, then it has, about 10-20% new material. You get your typical Kubrickisms, if you want to call them that, with his boxy way of filming. He likes to frame people in very still shots, and then early use of a steady cam with the tracking shot of the boy on the
Big wheel.
Big wheel.
And of course, the little girl in me thinks, oh, wow, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. There's a lot of duality that he uses. You see the boy next to the dad, framed in shots and seen in a mirror, show the dual images. And then instead of being the boy from the future, it's two girls, not twins.
They're dressed alike, but they're not
dressed
twins.
alike, but one's older than the other.
Well, my parents did that. My younger sister and I are 14 months apart, but my parents did that to us.
And I think it's also well known that Kubrick was driving Shelley Duvall insane to get her performance.
It showed.
It was basically a hostage situation, if not worse. She was mentally abused by the director to the point where her hair was starting to fall out.
Alopecia.
Almost like a Stockholm Syndrome, that he had to do that to get the best performance out of me. It's like almost like an abused wife. Kubrick would call Stephen King in the middle of the night and just ask him random questions like, do you believe in God?
Did you read The Stand?
And Stephen King would be like, it's like 3:30 in the morning. Yeah, well, I don't. And then hang up. It's like, what? think a major complaint is that Jack Nicholson doesn't really change much throughout. You never really feel that he was ever a decent guy in the first place.
You don't, unfortunately.
You can hear when he's talking about how he dislocated Danny's arm. He almost resents the boy for it happening. It's not his fault. It's not that he was drinking. 1 pound per square inch of extra force, and he blames that rather than his own rage. And so you never empathize with him as he's going insane.
He was a bad guy, and he was made worse by this place. The ending, obviously, didn't have a lot to do with the novel, which is actually good.
It's one of those scratch-your-head endings like, okay, what?
Yeah, well, the book was a scratch-your-head ending, too. And it's like, what? Really? Are you fucking kidding me?
Didn't it end with the boiler blowing up and the house
You would like to think
fire?
that that's where it ended.
Okay, I thought that's
Where
it
the
ended.
climax is, but that's not where it ended.
Oh, it ends with the whole future boy thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of Stephen King novels end in fire. I wonder why that is.
I don't
Same
know.
with Hammer movies.
Seems to like it.
Jack Nicholson was actually a volunteer fireman.
Oh, wow.
So the axe scene, the first time they shot that, he cut way quickly through that door. Too quickly. So they had to say, dial it back, Jack. Dial it back. Favorite scene for me, she knocks him unconscious and drags him into the storage area. It's one of the few really supernatural things that happen, that the ghost unlocks the storage room door.
My favorite scenes are anything that were in that giant room where he was typing. He made the place feel empty, desolate, cold, awful, with just the way he set up his shots.
Well, it's all about cabin fever, too. You know, that isolation driving you mad, but plus him being an alcoholic and then the ghosts fucking with his mind.
So yeah, when she finds the pages that say nothing but all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, it's written like he's actually writing sentences and paragraphs
And
stuff
eventually
like
it looks
that.
like he's doing it in sonnet form.
Yeah, just the horror of that moment. And I like the lack of music in some of the most intense scenes. It's unnerving. You are expecting the music and you don't get it.
Or it's just like 2001 where you have a really eerie kind of violin kind of noise that's not really music. It's just unsettling. And more mirror images about the hedge maze and how he's looking down into it, and then it cuts to them walking through it and kind of memorizing the path. The red rum being a mirror image. Scatman Crothers taking an axe to the gut.
The
His
only...
velvet painting.
Yeah.
And how you follow his whole story of him getting on the plane, him riding the plane, him getting into the
It's like,
snowcat, getting all the way up, and then he walks in and gets an axe to the gut. That's a lot of build up to death.
Well, see, in the book, he doesn't die.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, another reason for the fans of the novel to hate the film.
Usually, Stephen King kills off all the people that you like and leaves the mouth breathers alive.
Yeah.
So that is a switch.
True.
But anyway, I'm not a Stephen King fan. You might have noticed.
I was, but it's kind of like Tarantino. You like him, and then you kind of get over him. I mean, you can still appreciate his place.
I have respect for
Yeah.
him and what he's done in our culture. However, that doesn't mean I like it.
Yeah.
I have never liked Stephen King. I am never going to like Stephen King. And that's all there is to that.
Well, I think that's a good place to end.
All right.
Okay, so that's our feedback, Black Dog. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween!
Ooh, happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, Jim, how very formal. Anyway, thank you very much for that. Yes, I get a subtle hint that maybe Brandy's not the greatest fan of Stephen King's work.
You think?
But anyway, nevertheless, very good feedback. Thank you very much, guys. And obviously, if you want to hear more of Brandy and Dave talking about all things geek, goth, and giving commentary tracks to your favourite movies, go to the Inside Out cast, which you can find on iTunes or on geekplanetonline.com. I don't know, there's an awful lot to add to that feedback. I mean, it is, well, you know, it's typical Dave, well-researched,
Yeah.
put us to shame feedback. Really?
I feel as though adding anything to that would kind of be like, you know, that old lady who tried to restore that picture of Jesus. it's like that. Did you see the picture of that person who went to the fancy dress party? As that image. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, God. That fucking picture.
I've restored it. Jazz hands.
You using some Play-Doh and a sponge.
I do believe that this is how Lionel Richie's girl in Hello would have recreated the picture had she been given a set of paints rather than a ball of clay. As you can see, she's not much of a painter. A rather loose interpretation of Jesus Christ.
I've restored the Sistine Chapel using Braille. Oh God! Sorry, Dave. Sorry, Brandy. We're going somewhat crazy. We've been talking to Lloyd the barman
We have.
for far too long. Oh dear, who's the next poor son who's giving his feedback completely diminished by by pictures of Jesus drawn by someone who got zero talent. We have,
But did have a fuzzy Play-Doh barber's shop. So.
Yes.
It's John Campion. Now, John, you may remember, sent in some really well-researched and very in-depth feedback last time.
Why he sent it to us, I don't know.
I have no idea. I think he was sending it to a completely different podcast, and it just.
I think he was sending it to yours, Jim. This is it. And he just put the wrong address in.
Exactly. Yeah, and and we mentioned that his feedback was so thorough that it actually took 2 thumb swipes to read it on the iPad. To which he apologises profusely in his email, and so he decided to send some MP3 feedback. So, so John's first piece of MP3 feedback. So, let's be kind, and
As we steal his
fantastic ideas and use them for ourselves.
podcast or MP3 feedback cherry.
Yes.
As we break him in.
Break him in. like the Scat Man.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's hear what John says before we insult anyone else.
Captive. Hang on, let's have a look in the mirror. Feedback. Thanks, Tony. I love the cinematography in The Shining, and I really enjoy the way the camera follows the characters in the film. Not just in the Steadicam parts, but you'll see it in the opening shots of their journey to the Overlook. It gives this real sense of a presence looming over them. The shots where the camera is ahead of the characters and they walk towards it don't work quite as well for me, apart from one exception, the scene where Jack is on his way to the Gold Room in the Overlook. The motion of the camera there gives this sense that the hotel's pulling him into that first encounter with its ghosts. One of the most famous bits of Steadicam work in The Shining is the scene with Danny on his trike, but listen to the sound in that scene as well, that alternating drumming of the wheels on the hardwood floors, and then the silence as the trike rolls over the rugs is regular, and it gives almost the feeling of a heartbeat, and again it comes back to this thing of the Overlook as a malignant living presence in the film. The camera's in motion so much that when it does stay still, and I think a notable example of that is the scene where the elevators pour out blood, you get a feeling of fear rooting you to the spot. Both Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall give massive performances in this film, and neither performance is entirely one note. There's some subtlety in Jack's resistance to Grady's ghost suggestion that he deals with his family, and you see his resistance to that being broken down in his expression as Grady's talking to him. And for all Wendy Torrance's understandable terror, she does do her best in the film to keep her son safe, and the things she does are fairly logical, locking Jack in the food locker, finding a lockable room for her and Danny to hide out. Scatman Crothers has the best name in film, probably, and the rawest deal plot-wise in The Shining. He seems to be there just to tell Danny about Shining as a concept, and then to make the long journey from what seems to be Barry White's personal suite in the Miami Hilton to the Overlook and get an axe in the chest. And I think it's some measure of Scatman's performance that you do actually care about the character when that happens. after all that, it's a bit hard to comment on Danny's performance. I think the only thing I could come up with is that he's not wooden, he's not too stage schooly. His Tony voice is slightly annoying. Nice line in jumpers. I think he's overshadowed by the other people in the film, but he does a good enough job with the role. There are a couple of times where the film is disappointingly heavy-handed. There's one at the end in the maze where you see Danny run over his own footsteps, it seems, very briefly. And you think to yourself, oh, clever lad, I get what he's doing there. And then you have another scene not long after where he spends about a minute painstakingly retracing his steps, and it really isn't needed with that previous shot already telling the story. The photo of Jack at the end of the film as well, I think, isn't handled terribly well. A glance would be a more subtle way to do it, not the several zooms and then panning to the date so that we get that Jack's in the photo and that it's an old photo. It's really bludgeoning the viewer. There's also a massive missed opportunity that throws away all the ambiguity in the film, where Grady lets Jack out of the locker. Up to then, you're not really sure if Jack's visions are taking corporeal form or not, and that just tips the balance completely in one way. It's a shame. So not a perfect film, not one I was expecting a great deal from, but I really enjoyed it, and I think definitely I'd rewatch this and possibly watch it more carefully next time and get more from a second viewing. Really is very good. Now, where was I? Feedback. And now play Max Jack a dull boy. Call feedback. And now play Max Jack a dull boy.
He's never going to get that finished if he carries on typing at that speed. Ah, dear. Well, thank you very much for that, John. Thank you for your first piece of feedback.
MP3 feedback.
MP3 feedback, rather. Yes, I was going to say the Steadicam work is really good. I love his interpretation. Oh, don't hit that. I love his interpretation about the whole sort of like luring Jack in, and sort of like the way the camera work kind of does that, and the heartbeat from old Danny going around on the big wheel.
Yeah,
that's very good. Yes, very cool. Well observed, sir. And you've certainly done us a massive disservice by making by being
done
so
himself
fucking
a disservice.
Done himself a disservice by being so fucking observant.
Being on our
We've talked
podcast,
2.5
really.
hours. Talked 2.5 hours of shit, and you've condensed it down into 5 minutes.
It's
well
like
done.
It's like filming yourself explaining quantum physics and then showing it on CBBS, isn't it?
Yeah, here's multiple universe theory, and next up,
Dick and
Peppa
Dom.
Pig. Anyway, so yes, anything to add to the feedback, Jim? Anything you care to mention?
Not offhand. I think you covered everything marvellously well.
Yes, fantastic. Yes, it's I have to say there was a few bits he was right there with the whole fading into the picture is heavy-handed, and the whole thing with the retracing steps is kind of, I don't know. It does seem like it's done twice, and it's a bit like, yeah, okay, fine. We saw it the first time, move on. But I don't know. In some ways, I feel like when he actually does it in that sort of laborious sort of step move, I think that's to make it more explicit that that's what he's doing. Because the first time round, it's kind of a little bit ambiguous that he's gone round in the circle. So I don't really feel that's quite as bad. But anyway. Yes, thank you very much for that, John. Do keep sending your feedback in, because, frankly, we need people who are going to do more than just look at the wiki like I do and then make scat jokes for the rest of the evening. This is supposed to be a sensible podcast about fucking film, god damn it.
Sorry, what podcast is that?
I have no idea.
What colour is the sky on your planet?
pink with purple spots. Right, okay, so, yes, overall, I think, to varying degrees, The Shining is a big thumbs up, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's generally the consensus. And bloody right, too, even if it's not the scariest movie ever made, despite what some people say, pretty much like The Exorcist. But anyway, so, that's the end of the podcast. At 2 hours and fucking 70 million minutes. Thank you to everyone for sticking with us through badly parked cars, Scatman pooing on glass tables,
Squirrel Girl,
Wewok trysts, and
Filipino dick girls,
and Amazonian superheroes. It's been. I think it's safe to say it's been an emotional roller coaster ride of a podcast this week. And it's the sort of quality you can expect when we bring it to bear on our next movie celebrating 50 years of James Bond. God almighty, I'm almost terrified by the fact that we're even doing this. So next week we're going to have our James Bond movie special thing. And I put up on the Facebook group quite a few months ago now a vote on which Bond we would cover, whether or not it'd be Connery and Craig and all this sort of thing. And it seems a little unfair given that Skyfall's only just come out, because from what you were saying, Jim, it sounds like the vote would be a lot tighter this time round. But it did end up settling on Connery, and then we had to do which one of Connery's films we would actually review. And so, after a lot of debate, mainly saying that Diamonds Are Forever is shit, and me constantly making the references to the joke about You Only Live Twice, about getting soap in his eye, we settled on Goldfinger, rather unsurprisingly, I think, for most. Aye, you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to
fucking die!
Then why are you walking away and leaving me on this laser-bound table with laser between my balls? Anyway, moving on. So next week, for your homework, it is Goldfinger.
Goldfinger of Fudge.
Yes, Goldfinger of Fudge. If you don't get to watch Goldfinger, because I know that these are DVDs and Blu-rays that people are either in the process
just
of
switch
getting.
on ITV2, it's on there.
Yeah, I was going to say. But also, because we are going to try and cover various aspects of Bond, not just Goldfinger, then send your feedback in anyway. We're going to have a little chat about Bond from start to finish, because frankly, news is going to be just Star Wars 7 for the next 15 years. So we're probably not going to bother with news forever. And so, yes, we'll try and do a Bond special. We might have a guest, depending on whether or not we can get him down from Hatfield, or whether or not he's been arrested by the Jimmy Savile police investigation. But anyway, so we may have someone else joining us for it. We may have multiple people if there are other people sounding like they want to get involved. But
yeah,
yes, send in your James Bond thoughts, James Bond favourite things, favourite gadgets, favourite cars, favourite Bond villains, all that kind of shit that we can all just chat up and ignore and make poo jokes.
But beware that next week's episode will be Sean Connery impression heavy.
Yes.
Okay? Just to let you guys know, that's all.
And for ladies who do not like misogynistic Scotsmen, do join us again on Blackdog 135 when we will not be doing James Bond. So there you go. Yeah, so move along, darling. We're men talk. I always remember that one. It's like, oh God Almighty. Anyway, so there you go. Next week, James Bond. Send us in James Bond feedback. Send us feedback in on Goldfinger mainly, and we shall see you for that. I'd like to thank Jim, for long-suffering Jim, for joining us on this rather wearing scatological way along the horror, along the 3 and a bit weeks of horror. Thank you, Jim.
2.5 minutes.
My pleasure.
Of mayhem.
Been a pleasure having you, sir. We shall no doubt have you in the very near future. When we finally sort of got the poo jokes and Scatman Carruthers jokes out of our system. And obviously, do you want to do your now traditional plug for Hypnobobs? Go for it, sir.
Yes, you can hear me on Hypnobobs, which has just turned 100 years old.
Woo!
Or 100 episodes old.
Woo!
And that's on iTunes or at hypnogory.com or at Geek Planet Online.
And there you go. And yes, so send your feedback in. Listen to Jim, obviously, when his 100 episodes in 10 parts come out, and and we shall see you all next week for a bit of Bond, James Bond, Moneypenny. Someone appears to have soap in my eye. I've done it again. Yes. Here's my conservatory. My men are shit. Anyway. Hold on, that's Outland. Where the fuck am I going with that? Right, okay. See you later, everyone. See you later, Darren. See you later, Jim.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, by the way, let's just play out with this fantastic tune.
I'm a scat man. I'm a scat man.